3 weeks on from the start of the championship in Melbourne, the new Formula One season has moved to the heat of Kuala Lumpur, to the challenging Sepang circuit, hosting its 9th Malaysian Grand Prix. Australia had seen victory for Kimi Raikkonen on his Ferrari debut, and a stunning Grand Prix debut from Britain's Lewis Hamilton, who took 3rd place on the Australian Grand Prix podium. And Sepang promised similar ingredients on a real racers circuit, and James Allen can take us through the grid.
Qualifying at Sepang is always difficult, but here it was particularly tough because the soft tyre isn't lasting a whole lap for everybody. It was for Massa. He took pole for the 4th time in 7 races, Alonso alongside him. Raikkonen and Hamilton make up row 2. Row 3, another wonderful performance from both of these drivers, Heidfeld in the BMW and Rosberg in the Williams. Kubica and Trulli, who did a fantastic job in the Toyota. Ralf Schumacher and Mark Webber round out the top 10. Last year's winner, Giancarlo Fisichella, off the pace here, out-qualified by teammate Kovalainen, and both of the Renaults outside the top 10. Coulthard and Sato are on row 7. Row 8, Jenson Button, who's really unhappy this weekend, Antonio Liuzzi in the Toro Rosso. Row 9, Scott Speed and Anthony Davidson, not quite the glory days of Melbourne. Vert's got stuck in gear in qualifying, so he's down at the back alongside Albers. And the tail-end Charlies, Adrian Sutil in the Spiker and Rubens Barrichello, who had to change an engine, so he drops to the back of the grid.
It's the 9th Malaysian Grand Prix at the Sepang International Circuit. 70% full throttle around this 5.5 kilometre, 3.4 mile track. Add in heat and humidity, and the drivers really know about it when they get out of the car. There are some special challenges too. Turn 4 is a difficult, uphill, bumpy braking zone, arriving at 190 miles an hour, down to 70 by the apex. Now at the start of the race, if they've survived turns 1, 2 and 3, they're still quite tightly packed here into 4, as Kimi Raikkonen found out to his cost last year when he was tagged on the apex and then crashed in turn 5 with suspension failure. The drivers feel they can really attack this turn 4. Often though, they get it slightly wrong on the apex, drift wide, losing lots of time on the grass on the exit.
Welcome to the toughest race of the year. It's a supreme test of a driver's fitness. Massa on the right of your screens, Alonso on the left with Hamilton behind him, 2 Ferraris on the right, 2 McLarens on the left, and the Malaysian Grand Prix is go! Hard to tell from this angle, but Massa's got the jump, but Alonso's down the inside of him, wheel to wheel. It's going to come down to some bravery here. Hamilton tucks in behind Raikkonen. Is he going to be brave here? Yes, he is. He takes 1 Ferrari. Alonso takes the lead. Hamilton's looking at Massa now. He's going round the outside of him. The rookie, the 22-year-old from Stevenage, is having a go, and he's passed him. Hamilton up to 2nd place. Alonso leads. It's a McLaren 1-2 on the opening lap at Sepang. But look at the Ferrari coming back at him now.
Brilliant getaway then by the 2 McLarens, and Hamilton, I thought he was taking a big risk around the outside, but Massa, big incident going on in turn 4 at the back of the field. Could well be a safety car situation. Lots of yellow flags at the moment, of course, but well, there's still a lot of cars on track, so probably only 2 or 3 ended up in the gravel. It is very much in the firing line of the braking zone into that turn 4. So let's see if they feel the need to bring the safety car out.
Alonso leads as Kovalainen goes up the inside of the Red Bull there. Alonso leads, Hamilton 2nd, Massa 3rd, 4th is Raikkonen, 5th is Heidfeld, 6th Kubica, 7th Rosberg, 8th Fisichella, 9th Trulli, 10th is Kovalainen. We just saw him passing Mark Webber. That drops the Australian down to 11th place.
Well, we know that Hamilton, it's Sutil there for Spiker in the gravel trap. We know that Lewis Hamilton went home last night and watched about 6 Formula One starts on the video, and he certainly paid attention to what he saw, because he pulled that one off beautifully. Alonso from Hamilton, Massa, Raikkonen, big fight going on in the midfield there between the Super Aguri and the 2 Toro Rossos.
Yep, it's Anthony Davidson battling with Liuzzi and Scott Speed. As at the front, Hamilton coming under a lot of pressure now from Felipe Massa. There is a team game to be played here by Lewis Hamilton. Certainly letting Alonso get away a bit would be helpful for the McLaren race effort. And of course the two Ferraris boxed up behind each other. Now one thing that a lot of the drivers are saying this year, Martin, is it's really hard with these cars to follow another. It's like a cushion of air is behind the car in front. You can't get so close. It's very, very difficult.
Well, it's absolutely no surprise. They get more and more bits and pieces hanging off them. Appendages all over them. They must have 30 or 40 devices on the exterior of those cars developed in a wind tunnel, and then of course as soon as you put another car in front of it, they don't work properly and the car doesn't handle. They've got to get rid of all that lot if they want a Formula One car to follow another closely. Massa knows he needs to dispatch Lewis Hamilton very quickly. When he sees the replay of turns 1 and 2, he'll wonder just how he let Hamilton through there.
We've still got yellow flags out on the circuit as Rubens Barrichello battles with the Toro Rosso there. That's Barrichello coming through from 20th place. Remember, he started from the pit lane. And this is a real test now for the Ferrari strategists. Ross Brawn is no longer with the team. He's on a sabbatical. And Luca Baldisseri, who was his number 2 for many, many years, is now charged with making these decisions. Ross has complete faith in him, which is why he promoted him after he moved, but it's going to be a stern test for him now to figure out how he deals with the threat from these two McLarens. I don't know if Ross is watching this. I know he was in New Zealand as the Super Aguri goes side by side here with the Toro Rosso, and that's a pass Sato on the Yutzi, I believe, who dives into the pit lane. So Alonso leading and pulling away. 2.5 seconds the gap at the end of the last lap. Hamilton second, Massa third, Raikkonen fourth. Almost 4 seconds now behind race leader Alonso. This is working very nicely for McLaren.
Yeah, all the Brits made places off the grid. Hamilton fourth up to second, Coulthard up to 12th from 13, Davidson up to 15th, Button up to 16th, so at least they all got away well. And Liuzzi then, possibly he tripped over the spiker of Sutil in that turn 4 incident on the opening lap. And there seems a bit of uncertainty as to whether that car's ready to go.
Look at this gap now between Alonso and Hamilton.
Hamilton's got a car that's a bit loose at the back end. It's sliding around, getting some oversteer. I think that's why he's backing the Ferraris up. And Alonso's getting away at about a second per lap at the moment. Although Hamilton's closing it down a bit this time around. Hamilton under pressure. Massa's going to have to go the long way around. Amusingly, he was tightening his seatbelt as he was doing it. And is there going to be enough space? He won't do it. Can Hamilton hang on to the inside line? He surely will, because he's hung Massa out to dry on the dirty line. And Raikkonen fancies a bit of the action.
Yeah, Raikkonen's getting a bit frustrated there, back in 4th place. They're losing over a second a lap now to Alonso. The gap up to 4 seconds. Massa dives down the inside. Hamilton could see that coming. But he goes back up the inside again. Beautiful move by Lewis Hamilton. What courage. And now Raikkonen, who we know from the past with Montoya, is not afraid of going wheel to wheel with his teammate. Gets alongside Massa, but has to give the corner away.
Well, I said to Massa on the start line, is he going to be able to fight his teammate Raikkonen? And his team boss Jean Todt said, you can ask some good questions if you want, but I think that's absolutely the right question today. Just where will Massa stand with Raikkonen leading the World Championship? And we know exactly the answer now.
Well, if you believe the stories in the paddock, one of those drivers is being paid 5 times as much money as the other. Raikkonen, of course, earning the most.
Hamilton didn't really get away that well, and he's way behind Raikkonen at the moment, and he's going to take 2 Ferraris in the first 2 corners. So there's Alonso taking the lead. Hamilton squeezes up the inside and keeps it nicely under control. And I think Massa's so busy watching Alonso, he doesn't notice Hamilton, but he still should easily have kept Hamilton at bay. On board then with Lewis, and as you see, he's well into 4th place there, probably under pressure from the BMW. Jinks right around, I mean, that's pretty brave stuff, isn't it? Jinks right around Raikkonen. Now Massa's got to go up the inside this time. He cannot try the outside line again. And Lewis saw it coming.
Yeah, that was a very comprehensive piece of defensive driving by Hamilton. An amazing performance by him. This is lap 5 of the Malaysian Grand Prix, and you sense that something is around the corner here. Massa's already had a go at Hamilton. Raikkonen's had a go at Massa, and we've got 52 long laps to go here.
He's now 5 seconds behind his teammate, and we're halfway around lap 5. And Massa looking increasingly frustrated. He's just got to calm down, hook up to the gearbox of that McLaren. He is both faster in a straight line and much better under braking. This is the first corner incident where Sutil appeared to slam down the side of Jenson Button. Button looks like he got away with it, and that is why I'm assuming this is a replay up into turn 4. And this is us. We're going to go wide on board with Felipe Massa, and Hamilton in textbook style ducks back underneath. This is another view from Hamilton's car. There goes the Ferrari, and we'll have that place back. Thank you.
Well, after that incident, Jenson Button is running in 17th place. Anthony Davidson 15th. David Coulthard is in 12th place. Back at the front, a little lock up there from Lewis Hamilton. The back of the car sliding a lot now. And his last lap, a 1:38.5, pretty much the same sort of lap time as he did before.
Lewis is going to be under big pressure here, James. Sorry to cut across. He's going to be under big pressure into turn 4. He was really out of line through 1 with that lock-up, and then out of line through 3. And now he's going defensive. This time, Massa will hold him out, surely. Oh, come on, Felipe. That was poor. You had it covered, and you didn't keep your head.
That is not really the move of a world champion. We've seen Felipe Massa developing so much in the last few years. As you memorably said the other night, you wouldn't have trusted him to drive your hire car a couple of years ago, and now look at him running up the front. And yet there was an example of that impetuousness that the Ferrari and the discipline of Ferrari have not yet been able to drill out of him. He's off the racetrack, he's back on again, but he's lost places. He's certainly lost a place to Raikkonen, and I think he lost a place to Heidfeld as well. We'll see in a moment. Alonso then still at the front. Let's take another look at that.
Yeah, well, he had it covered now. Felipe had the move. As soon as Lewis locked his brakes, Felipe Massa had it all covered. Now all he's got to do is brake actually a little bit earlier and just hang Lewis out to dry, and his teammate would have probably gone through as well. Instead, he loses out to the BMW of Heidfeld, I believe, then also gets through there. So impetuous stuff there from Felipe Massa. Does Heidfeld get through?
Yep.
Yes, he does.
Looks like it. That's Raikkonen in 3rd place. Heidfeld is 4th, and Massa has it all to do now in 5th place. We'll take a look at how much time he lost. He was just half a second behind Hamilton, obviously, at the end of the last lap. And as he goes through now, he is 5 seconds. No, he's not. He's 6 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton.
This is Barrichello finding his way past Jenson Button. Be surprised if Jenson releases him in here, but it's up to turn 4. It's fine. It's the right place to do it. Just eases off and lets Rubens through on the racing line. There's one Ferrari engine that doesn't appear to have enjoyed the conditions.
Christian Albers in the spiker. Kubica at the inside of Rosberg, but Rosberg comes back at him, and Rosberg takes the place. So Rosberg up into 6th.
David Coulthard under pressure from Alex Wirtz. Coulthard going defensive into turn 4. Wirtz trying to go around the outside, and he makes it. Coulthard very much under pressure now from Ralf Schumacher too.
That was the corner where Massa tried to pass Lewis Hamilton on 2 occasions. The first time he tried it, he ran a little bit wide and Hamilton got the place back. The second time, he went off onto the grass and allowed both Raikkonen and Heidfeld through. Exactly the same corner. Here's another look.
Yeah, DC puts himself up onto the middle, slightly less grippy line, and Wirtz has got enough confidence and grip just to go clean around the outside.
I tell you who's going beautifully at the moment is Rosberg in 6th. He is lapping at the same sort of pace as Heidfeld in front of him, and as Lewis Hamilton actually, and that, the Williams does seem to be really coming good. Yeah,
Rosberg driving beautifully. Wirtz coming through in the sister Williams too. He's dispatched Coulthard and is now after the second Red Bull of Mark Webber. It'll be painful for Mark Webber, who left Williams to go to Red Bull, if a Williams cruises up behind him and overtakes him. But the Williams do look very, very well hooked up on this racetrack. Alonso has just put in another new fastest lap, 1:36.9. You can tell the track's green. We were expecting probably 1:35s as a race pace. They're beginning to come towards that. His lead was 12.6 seconds, is now up to 13.4 as they head into lap 15. There's Ron there. seeming rather anxious that Fernando hasn't seen his pit board, or doesn't, maybe he's not anticipated to be in at the moment, and we're wondering if there are communication problems, and Ted may have more news.
There are communication problems. Ron is now pointing to his ear to Fernando Alonso's engineer Mark Slade in that "has he heard me" type way. Ron is now working the pit board himself, trying to, I don't know what he's going to put up there, come in for fuel, for God's sake, a message like that. But obviously radio problems with Alonso, and well, he could run out of fuel as the Ferrari comes in, Martin.
Yeah, it's Felipe Massa who pits from 5th place, and of course it was Kimi Raikkonen who won the race in Australia. He also had a radio problem, so it seems to be an increasingly frequent difficulty, certainly for race leaders. But we've seen it before, drivers don't notice the pit board, they keep on driving and run out of fuel. This is lap 18 that Alonso is now on, which is absolutely when we expected him to come in.
That's worked well for Massa, worked very well for him. He's out into some clear air, so this should get him past the BMW if he can. Heidfeld that he slipped behind with that error down at turn 4. Meanwhile, Raikkonen just half-second behind Lewis Hamilton. Fernando Alonso, fastest man in the middle sector of anybody in the entire race so far, clearly pushing, hopefully, for the McLaren team on an in-lap. He's coming down that long back straight into turn 15. Surely he'll just flick right now and into the pit lane. He does indeed. So a message received loud and clear. And whether they're reacting to Massa's pit stop, or whether they were just very concerned they weren't getting in contact with him. But anyway, he has got that message, and in he comes.
Well, he was half a minute up the road from Felipe Massa. Ferrari put a lot of fuel into that car. He's looking, he's indicating he can't hear anything, so test it now. Put his thumb up, Ted Kravitz.
Yeah, and Ron Dennis, that thumb up was to Ron Dennis, who was getting involved. Right, I've never seen him before, to Fernando Alonso, giving the old "can you hear me?" and then a kind of cut-throat sign as in, well, the radio's broken, Fernando, but carry on as you are.
Okay, Kimi Raikkonen in the Ferrari from 3rd place has also pitted. Lewis Hamilton is leading the Grand Prix for the 2nd race in a row. This is only his 2nd Grand Prix start, and he's led both of them. Amazing performance by him. Alonso, of course, made a stop. His fuel, we're not sure about how long the fuel was on for. We were so focused on the radio issue. Raikkonen, he put a lot of fuel in the car, as did Massa. They're going to go for a very long middle stint, the Ferraris, to try and get back on terms with the McLarens.
Yeah, the traffic situation didn't work out quite as well for Raikkonen. Lewis Hamilton, that makes it even more impressive what he did down to the first corner, in terms of he had the heaviest car of all of the 4 front runners. Let's see how much further Lewis can go. It's unusual to see Ron not so much flustered, but feeling the need to get so involved. He's got an army of people who know exactly, fully briefed on what they need to do. But clearly, Ron senses they can steal this Grand Prix away from Ferrari today.
Absolutely right, they can. It's been an amazing start to the race for them. Still a long way to go yet, and let's not forget, this is the toughest race of the year. Not just for the drivers physically, but also for the cars as well. And there is your race leader, 22-year-old Lewis Hamilton, a graduate of GP2 from last year. He's jumped straight into one of the most competitive cars in Formula 1, and he is leading in Sepang. There is the leaderboard, the top 8. You can see Hamilton and Heidfeld yet to stop. Same with Rosberg, Fisichella as well. There goes the Williams into the pit lane. Raikkonen has stopped Kovalainen, who had a disappointing performance in Melbourne, as Rosberg comes down the pit lane. There comes the race leader, really pushing it hard on his in-lap, Lewis Hamilton, learning all the lessons from his teammate Fernando Alonso about really pushing the in-laps and the out-laps. All of these little tiny details are the difference between an also-ran and a champion.
Turn of front wing. I don't know which way there was. Looking at the way the car was handling, I'd have thought they'd taken some front wing off. But anyway, we'll find out how he goes now. There then is teammate Alonso. It's 50 miles an hour down the pit lane, 80 kilometers per hour. He's going to come out comfortably in front of the Ferrari, and still a good way behind his teammate. The Ferraris are tucked up in the Renaults there, and Massa a long way back down the field.
Lewis Hamilton putting 7.4 seconds worth of fuel in. That's more than teammate Alonso, so he's going longer, as he did in the first stint. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this race shakes out. Where is Hamilton going to finish relative to the 2 Ferraris? A long way to go here. Alonso leads by 10 seconds. Hamilton's catching him. Raikkonen's third, Heidfeld's fourth, Massa's fifth, Rosberg is sixth, David Coulthard pits from seventh, which means Fisichella moves up into that spot, and Trulli rounds out the top eight. We are exactly at the halfway stage in the Malaysian Grand Prix in Sepang. There is Fernando Alonso just getting a little bit hot under the collar at one of the Toro Rossos as he goes through to lap him. Well, Alonso has led this race pretty much since the start, apart from the pit stop period. He's been out front. He managed to pass Massa off the start line. Massa starting from pole position. There's an indication of how Lewis Hamilton is catching him at the moment, though. The gap now down to just 8.7 seconds as Hamilton comes across. Hamilton managed to pass Massa as well, and Raikkonen into turn one. So it was a McLaren 1-2 in the early stages of the Grand Prix. And what happened then was Alonso scampered away. Lewis held up the two Ferraris to give Alonso a really nice big margin. And then Massa made a mistake. Two mistakes, in fact, trying to pass Lewis Hamilton. The first one he got away with. The second one cost him dearly. He went off onto the grass and lost places to Raikkonen and Heidfeld. And basically, he's not really recovered from that. Felipe Massa, the pole sitter, then back in fifth place, half a minute behind Alonso.
Okay, brake pedal starting steering column. Brake pedal and steering column.
Something about brake pedals and steering columns. Doesn't look like much fun. Coulthard lapping in the mid 1 minute 39s. Teammate Webber is in front of him in the high 1:38, so he lost 7/10 of a second on that last lap to Webber. They're following each other, 11th and 12th places at the moment.
Now, the brake pedal is remarkably close to the steering column that runs often down between the two pedals, actually, to the steering column. And this is one of it. So clearly he's not getting a clean sweep on the brake pedal. There's something moving. That's a bit scary when that happens.
Okay, I'm not comfortable, guys. I think we should retire the car. Understood.
Little lock up there for Felipe Massa, but certainly for sure, the performance of McLaren has caught Ferrari by surprise here this weekend. Hamilton comes in on lap 39.
So that's quite a short fill then. It's quite a short fill they did there of Lewis Hamilton. He was last in of the top four and he's first in for the second round. He'll be refueled to the end of the Grand Prix. He's now got the harder, supposedly slower tyres. Remember, they have to use both types of tyre in the Grand Prix. And the Ferrari goes through, but not very far through if you think about it, in terms of Hamilton's already got his stop out of the way. It'll be very interesting to see the pace now. We're expecting it to be about half a second per lap slower on this harder tyre, the one without the white stripes through the groove.
Well, it's going to be interesting now for Hamilton because he's behind Massa, who's not going to stop for a little while, I think. We're riding on board with Felipe Massa, currently lapping in the mid 1:38s, which is a second and a half slower than Alonso at the front. So watch him like a hawk here. Making adjustments with his right hand just to the brake balance. McLaren, we're being told, whoa, he made an adjustment, Martin, to the brake balance, and the next corner he went deep and missed his braking point.
Yeah, he's still fumbling around down there, so Massa not comfortable. Alonso really attacked the line, but he doesn't need to, and Ted Kravitz is down there.
Yeah, Fernando Alonso, race leader, into the pits, and this should go well. It's the set of hard tyres going on at this stop. The McLaren boys go to work, about 60-65 kilos of fuel go in. There's no problems with the stop so far, and that's very good. And just by the way, Fisichella will be coming in shortly for a second stop.
Thank you, Ted. There is Kimi Raikkonen coming down the main straight, but he has still got to make another pit stop. Alonso comes out behind him. There he is, coming back out into second place then, behind Raikkonen. Heidfeld, you can see coming through now in the BMW. He is third. With Hamilton, there he is in fourth, having made his second stop. Heidfeld has not made his second stop yet. In comes Massa.
Yeah, and the traffic works out beautifully for Fernando Alonso. nobody in front of him apart from Raikkonen, who will surely pit quite soon.
So Massa only goes, well, the same lap in fact as Fernando Alonso, and then he goes a couple of laps longer than Lewis Hamilton. How much further can Raikkonen go in this Grand Prix? He looks a bit out of sorts, doesn't he, Massa? The whole body language of his head and the car is just out of sorts. He's annoyed with himself for making that mistake early on in the race, and he's not really recovered from it. He hasn't had that fight in him, has he?
Doesn't appear to have done. I mean, he really shouldn't have let Lewis past anyway in the first place. He then passed him into this turn 4 and got it wrong, and Lewis ducked underneath him. He then went for the big move into turn 4 and got it completely wrong. So yeah, it's a catalogue of errors all surrounding Lewis Hamilton that's put Massa completely out of sync.
Looks like Ferrari are going to get ready for Raikkonen, and it was interesting that Ferrari stop for Massa wasn't as fast as the McLaren stop for Alonso. So McLaren really sharp on the pit work. Ferrari quite got the edge. Let's have a look how this one goes for Raikkonen.
22 guys. 2 or 3 on the fuel hose, 3 now on the fuel hose, 3 per wheel. Somebody to clean out the radiators. Jackman either end. Beautiful. Poetry in motion.
Raikkonen will slot back into 3rd place, so that worked out beautifully for Lewis Hamilton, who finished 3rd in Australia and at the moment is on target to finish in 2nd place as Heidfeld pits from what was 2nd place in the BMW. Where will he feed back in? Well, I think Alonso, Hamilton and Raikkonen have all gone through. That's Massa at the top of your screens, and Heidfeld will come back in front of him. So he's held the place. Massa has not taken advantage of it. It's just not happening for him today, is it?
Massa his heart would have sung a bit further there, seeing the BMW emerge. He must have expected it though. Nothing's happened to him. It would have moved him forward. He would have hoped Heidfeld would have found a bit of traffic or made an error. Hasn't done so. So they're pretty much back to status quo. And Massa's going to have to push very, very hard now to get that 4th place.
Oh no, Nico Rosberg. I was just about to say what a fantastic day he's having. And it looked as though Williams were getting on top of their reliability issues, which dogged them the whole of last season. He has been absolutely stunning today, running in 7th place, but 13 laps from the finish. I'm afraid that car looks like it's let go.
Lewis Hamilton's going to have to find a better way with these hard tyres. He's not been under the 1:39 bracket since he went out on them. He's now 16 seconds off the lead. Raikkonen just 6.8 behind him now, and lapping a second a lap faster. Hamilton, how it turns around with these tyre changes. Hamilton was the main man, wasn't he, in the 2nd phase of the Grand Prix? But in this 3rd phase, I don't know if he's just in traffic or what, but he's really struggling for pace. He's lost another half second in the middle part of this lap. So Lewis suddenly on his back foot, and he's going to have Kimi Raikkonen filling his mirrors at this rate anyway.
Well, McLaren leading the Constructors' Championship at the moment. Looking good for them at the moment with Alonso up front, but they've still got 11 laps to go. And at this rate, he will get caught. Lewis Hamilton will be caught by Raikkonen in not too distant future. About 7 or 8 laps from now at the current rates. And so the final few laps will be quite exciting for him. On board the Red Bull with Mark Webber. Outside the points in 10th place. He's a fair chunk of time away from the points as well. I don't think he's going to get anything out of the day unless someone in front of him retires. He's 17 seconds away from Kovalainen in 8th.
Alonso now 18 seconds ahead of Hamilton, who's only 5.6 ahead of Raikkonen. We're going to have a big squabble on for 2nd place between Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Raikkonen. They've now dropped Heidfeld, who still has the ever-present Felipe Massa behind him, 1.4 seconds behind him in 5th place. Fisichella in 6th, 23 seconds adrift for Renault, who's a minute off the lead as well.
And off the track goes the BMW of Robert Kubica. It's not been a great afternoon for him. 6 laps to go, 2 battles being launched by Ferrari drivers. Raikkonen is about to attack Hamilton. Massa is about to attack Nick Heidfeld for 4th place. Ferrari giving away points here unless they do so, unless they can get a little bit more out of this weekend. It's been another good weekend for McLaren, who are leading the Constructors' Championship at the moment. But Ted Kravitz, what can you tell us?
Down at McLaren, nervous tension down here. His engineer, Lewis's engineer, Phil Prix, just telling him just to keep the car together. But James, they have to balance the problems there. They have to balance the need to keep Kimi behind them, but also balance that with the fact that Kimi and Ferrari, they're also going to be worried about Kimi's engine, seeing as it overheated and lost water in Australia. So I have the feeling, though, Ferrari are just telling Kimi to go for it, never mind the engine, and Lewis is having to defend, but no particular problems with Lewis's car.
Yeah, well, Alonso will lead the World Championship if the results stay like this, and McLaren will very much lead the Constructors' title. They were anyway coming into this event by a point, so it's looking good for McLaren at the moment. They will be delighted if Lewis Hamilton can fend this off. On this lap, Hamilton's only lost 2/10 in the first 2 sectors, 10th in each. And over the line they go. Hamilton 38.3, but Raikkonen's really nailed the end of the lap at 37.8. He's now just 2.8 seconds adrift. He's much faster in that final sector, which is basically 2 straights and 2 corners.
And lots of braking.
Yep, 2 heavy braking.
I wonder if that's got anything to do with it. Something is holding Lewis Hamilton up a little bit relative to his teammate. He's over a second a lap slower than Alonso, who's very comfortable in the closing stages. He's 21 seconds up the road and he's still lapping 3/4 of a second faster than Hamilton and Raikkonen at the moment. So it's a huge test now for Lewis Hamilton. He's got to dig really, really deep in his reserves of self-confidence and self-belief and strength, and hold on here in 2nd place to give McLaren their first 1-2 finish since the Brazilian Grand Prix of 2005. Remember, they went through a barren spell lasting the whole of last season. They haven't won a race since the end of 2005, and how much do they need it and want it now? Alonso leads Hamilton, Raikkonen 3rd. Across the line with 3 to go. The gap is down to 1.7 seconds. And Lewis Hamilton is really having to dig deep here.
As I say, Raikkonen's got to get that turbulent air zone, yeah, but at 0.6 of a second per lap, he will be right on him in the last corner. Can Lewis keep his head? Can Raikkonen find anything extra when he needs it? We know the Ferrari's quick in a straight line. We know it's great under braking. I think he's got the kit to pass him if he can get there.
What's fascinating about this is that Alonso is 22 seconds in the lead. The race is won effectively with 3 laps to go, and yet he's still lapping in the mid-1 minute 37s, which is the pace that Raikkonen's going at. Absolutely flat chat, trying to catch Hamilton. So Alonso clearly hasn't backed off, but that car is clearly performing very well, that McLaren at the front.
Yeah, still Lewis is not getting ragged though, is he? He's been under so much pressure in both of his Grand Prix so far, with Alonso chasing him for virtually the whole of the Australian Grand Prix. He's had a Ferrari menacing him through most of this afternoon, and still he's got the high ground. 2.5 laps to go, 1.7 seconds was the advantage, and Raikkonen's taken another couple of tenths out in the first 2 sectors, and this is where he's faster still. He'll pick up some slipstream, will be his first advantage. He'll pick up some straight line speed pretty soon actually, and then he'll move into the 4/5/10 zone, where he'll start to understeer and struggle.
Well, in Finland they have a word called sisu, and it means fighting spirit. It was embodied by Keke Rosberg, the first Finnish driver to really break through and make it in Formula 1, and Kimi Raikkonen certainly has it as well, and this is a real test of his fighting spirit, and it's also a test of the heart of Lewis Hamilton. The last 2 laps of this Grand Prix, it's going to be a grandstand finish whatever happens here. Alonso is well and truly up the road. Massa doesn't look as though he's going to be able to do anything about Heidfeld for 4th place, so huge disappointment for him, following on from the disappointment in Australia, where he was forced to start from the back of the grid, and he managed to come through into the points. Got a 6th place finish in Australia, looks like 5th here, so not what he was expecting. But is Raikkonen going to chance a move on Hamilton in the closing stages here?
Hamilton's looked strong in this middle sector, very strong. He lost a tenth in the first sector, middle sector coming up after the sweeping right-hander of turn 10, and he's done his fastest of the Grand Prix so far. No, that's Raikkonen. He's taken another 2/10 out. Raikkonen has found a bit of extra speed. Hamilton, though, still looking rock solid, and if he can just keep his head, Raikkonen is going to start feeling some understeer and instability soon as he gets into the turbulent air zone. And this is Massa locking a wheel, running really wide in turn 15, and that's not going to help him at all. The gap was 1.2, is now less than a second, it seems, as they head into the final lap.
He doesn't want to give him the toe. You see he's moving away to try and break the toe for Raikkonen down the straight. He seemed a bit slow on acceleration out of that final corner, Lewis Hamilton. This is the last lap of the Malaysian Grand Prix. Halfway round it already is your race leader, Fernando Alonso. He's going to give McLaren their first victory since the end of 2005. But who is going to finish second? Will it be Britain's Lewis Hamilton or Finland's Kimi Raikkonen?
I think Hamilton's got it. If he doesn't make an error, he's got in just enough pace. And he really, I think he should have track position and enough position to take the right line into turn 15 to give him a good run to the pit straight. And Lewis not feeling the need to hang it out to the ragged edge of the curves there. You've got to be impressed with this kid, isn't it? It's just such maturity with so little Grand Prix experience. And absolutely brilliant driving.
He drives like a veteran. This is only his second Grand Prix. He's led both of the races he's competed in. He finished on the podium in Australia in third place. He is on at the moment for second place, but at the front, coming through, is Fernando Alonso. What an absolutely awesome afternoon for him. Fernando Alonso, to his extreme pleasure, wins the 2007 Malaysian Grand Prix. What a massive blow, struck by the McLaren team, and a phenomenal performance. Let's get a look at Lewis, come on. Where's Lewis? Where's Lewis? Is he holding on from Raikkonen into the final corner? There he is. Out of the final corner they come. And Lewis Hamilton comes through in second place. What a fabulous performance by him. Raikkonen is third. What a day. What a race.
Okay, let's think of the other places. Heidfeld should be hanging on for fourth. There he is in the back of the picture, well ahead of Massa, who's had a disappointing afternoon. Fisichella's looking solid for sixth, truly seventh. Kovalainen will take his first World Championship point in his Grand Prix career, and a much, much stronger weekend for Heikki Kovalainen, the sort of performance we were expecting from him.
Great job, Fernando. Great job, Fernando. I'm so pleased for you.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much. It has been a tough weekend for everybody. Fantastic job again. You deserve it.
Lewis was P2, so he took a few valuable points from yours truly.
Fantastic. Fantastic. You deserve it, guys. Fantastic.
Okay, Lewis, is everything okay?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
That's all right then.
Steph, I want to win. Doesn't matter if it's another next race, but sometime this year I'm going to have one.
Alonso loves his wins. He celebrates them with ludicrous body moves, but he really does enjoy it. It's his 16th, I think it is, career victory. His first for the McLaren team. And it really is a tribute to everybody at Woking who's worked so hard to make this car competitive. After Australia, they were some way behind, and look how quickly they've closed the gap to Ferrari. And this is going to be one heck of an exciting championship. The two teammates, they worked together early on. Hamilton let Alonso go. He got in front of the two Ferraris and allowed Alonso to build a large winning margin. And there is Ron Dennis. It's worked absolutely perfectly for the team.
Alonso just 2 races then, changing teams to McLaren to take a victory. Absolutely sensational.
Hamilton is a hero. Alonso is a winner again. Coming here, everyone said Ferrari was on a different planet. McLaren have responded though, and it's game on for the World Championship.
We were expecting to see Ferrari very, very competitive, but you know, seems that in the race our pace was enough to fight with them. Thanks to the start being first and second, we were able to keep those positions. So, you know, a dream come true for sure this race.
to have 2 Ferraris behind you is definitely what we want. But I probably don't want them to be that close to me next time, because I'm telling you, that was so hard to keep them behind for one. But you know, eventually once they pitted, you know, I could relax a little bit, but I still had to push. And you know, I'm really happy I got the fastest lap of the race. I just found out, and so I couldn't be happier.
What was your mindset in the last few laps, trying to hunt down Lewis? Did you think he might close the door on you? Did you have to be careful, or were you just going for it?
No, if I would have got any chance, for sure I would have tried, but unfortunately we ran out of the laps and couldn't really get close enough.
Starting in pole and finish 5th is not a great result. You know, unfortunately the race didn't went like I expected. You know, had some bad moments, especially on the start, and then when I tried to pass Hamilton, I just couldn't make it. You know, it was quite difficult to pass here. I think I had just a couple of times to try. I tried. Unfortunately, it was not possible.
A fantastic McLaren 1-2, their first race victory since the end of 2005. Victory for Fernando Alonso over Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Raikkonen in 3rd, and Nick Heidfeld holding off Felipe Massa on a very disappointing day indeed for Ferrari. Giancarlo Fisichella in 6th, Jarno Trulli in 7th, and Heikki Kovalainen will be delighted with his 8th place after all the frustrations of his debut in Australia. But the Drivers' Championship, Fernando Alonso back on top, 2 points ahead of Kimi Raikkonen. Hamilton in 3rd, a 1st and 2nd so far for Alonso for his new team, McLaren. And in the Constructors' Championship, 2 races gone, and McLaren haven't been off the podium yet, and they lead that Constructors' Championship by 9 points from Ferrari. And of course the other important reaction must come from Anthony Hamilton, Lewis's father, and you knew what he was capable of, but how much does this young man continue to surprise you as well?
Oh, it was an absolutely proud moment. You know, he felt good this morning again, and I knew we were going to be in trouble again today. It was all a matter of just getting around the first couple of bends and keeping the car on the circuit, and to be quite honest, had we finished 4th today, I'd have been absolutely happy.
But there's absolutely nothing defensive about the way Lewis approaches the first corners of these Grand Prix, is there?
No, he's totally self-confident and believes in himself, and he's just so determined. It's fantastic.
So your feelings when you saw him get past at the first corner, and the manner in which he held off the Ferraris after that must have made you very proud.
That was pretty cool, wasn't it? Absolutely cool. I mean, you know, that's the sort of thing with Lewis. You know, he's not easy to fluster, and in fact, I don't think he gets flustered at all, because he mentally prepares himself, and you know, he was ready, and I think what he was actually thinking about was trying to get the first place.
He's had a quiet time since Melbourne to try to absorb what he did there, and he's got to do the same off the back of that. But of course it's Bahrain next weekend. At some stage he's got to really come to terms with the sense of expectation which is growing so much back home.
Well, it is, isn't it? But I think, you know, the good thing with Lewis is he's still a, you know, feet on the ground kid, and you know, when he gets back home he just won't believe, you know, what's going on. But for now, you know, he's happy. He's missing his brother Nicholas, and he's missing, you know, some home cooking, and he's looking forward to getting back after Bahrain.
And from the McLaren point of view, absolute delight with what he's produced for the team so far.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, probably like me, they're all in shock.
I'm sure not. May it continue.
Yes, thank you
Anthony,
very much.
thanks very much indeed. Well, I bet you watching at home can't wait to see Lewis Hamilton racing in Europe. Well, the first race of the European season is the 2nd week of May, the Spanish Grand Prix, and you could be with us in Barcelona by entering our ITV F1 competition.
We've got a great competition for you thanks to AT&T Williams sponsor the Royal Bank of Scotland. It's a trip for 2 to the Spanish Grand Prix on the 13th of May. You'll have 2 weekend tickets to the race with seats in the heart of the action in the main stand. 3 nights accommodation at the 4-star Hotel Colón in the centre of Barcelona, return flight and all your transfers included. 3 times Formula 1 World Champion and RBS Global Ambassador Sir Jackie Stewart will also give you a tour of the AT&T Williams garage. And here is Sir Jackie with the question.
To be in with a chance of winning this great prize, courtesy of RBS, just answer this simple question. Who was the last driver to win the World Championship for Williams? A. Michael Schumacher, B. Mika Häkkinen, or C. Jacques Villeneuve?
So that's A. Schumacher, B. Häkkinen, or C. Villeneuve. The number to call is 0901 293 2020, or you can text F1 plus your answer, A, B or C, to 63337. Calls cost £1 per entry from a BT landline. Calls from other networks and mobiles may vary. Texts cost £1 plus the standard network rate. Lines are now open and will close just before midnight this Thursday, the 12th of April. Entrants must be 18 or over. Details of this competition, including terms and conditions, can be found on the ITV F1 website.
Spanish Grand Prix in May. It's Bahrain, of course, next weekend. But Mark, try to sum up events here at Malaysia for us. And we've seen just about everything from Lewis Hamilton today, haven't we?
Well, we've seen just about everything. But actually, I think there's a lot more still to come from Lewis Hamilton. Only 2 Grand Prix in. A third, a second, third time lucky in Bahrain, hopefully. He's got to get on the top of the podium.
He had concerns about what was going to happen at the start. It was the rest who should have been worried, because there was opportunism and courage, just as we saw at Melbourne.
Well, you know, the guy has just got ultimate composure. He just doesn't worry or even flicker about what's behind him or what's around him. His awareness is there. Look, he gets underneath the Ferrari. He's got one of them there, then he says, no, that's not enough, I'll get the second one as well. And he does the job for McLaren and his teammate Alonso. He does that crucial move of making sure those 2 red cars are behind and Alonso goes off into the distance.
Yeah, all credit to Alonso, but in many ways he was gifted the win, because it was Lewis Hamilton who destroyed all Ferrari's tactics.
He did indeed, because I think at that stage they worked the tyres overtime, the cooling went up, and also people like Massa should not get frustrated, and that was the case during this race.
Yes, this was a surprise from Massa. He should have shown a bit more experience.
He should have shown more experience, and he has the experience, Steve. That's the bottom line about this. He's fighting against a guy who's only in his 2nd Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton ultimately there composed. Massa goes down the inside, gets sideways, crosses up. Lewis says, thank you very much. I don't know what all the problem's about. And just watch. It's just not going to be on that move. I don't know what Massa's thinking about. Puts himself on the grass and then he goes a place back.
And it was a win that means so much to McLaren, let alone a 1-2. But we saw that in the concern of Ron Dennis, Fernando Alonso's first pit stop. And we rarely see Ron Dennis this animated.
You don't. And for Ron Dennis to get off that perch there and actually come down to the pit board and make sure that the right information is there, you know that something's up. And you know that he knows that McLaren and Mercedes are back in winning form. Alonso, outstanding, fought this race. He may have had radio communication problems, but it never showed.
And Bahrain next weekend can't come quick enough, can it?
No, good job it is next weekend, because I'm looking forward to it.
3rd place then in Melbourne, 2nd place here in Malaysia for Lewis Hamilton. What can Lewis do next? Make sure you're with us for our coverage of the Bahrain Grand Prix next weekend.